So I said I wouldn't be buying any more project buggies because the last one kind of beat me up a little bit. But, well, I guess I wasn't true to myself. Today I just picked up this Maxxam buggy. It is a non-runner. It did not come with a dog. And it's actually, the frame actually looks pretty nice. You got a little spot right there where they welded and put some primer on it. Nothing structural. But the tires all hold air. Like I said, it's a non-runner. It left me a nice plethora of wires. Don't you love that? The plan is to just put a whole new wiring harness in it. They're not cheap for these things. If you want to do that, that could be kind of expensive. I'm going to try something experimental and see if that'll work to save a little bit of money on that. I have no electronics box. There's a box where it could go, but I'll have to put something in there. I like to, of course, waterproof that or keep it out of the water as much as possible. It has a reverse box, but of course the cable goes up here somewhere and ends up like right here. So we don't know what the story is with that, but it's not hooked up to that like it should be. The brakes are solid. They don't work. So, it's going to definitely need a master cylinder, wiring harness, maybe some odds and ends, like some plastics for the motor. That's the cooling system. If you ever get one of these GY6 motors, and it's a GY6 150 motor, the plastics is the cooling system. So it missing the shroud right in here, well, that's unacceptable. I'm going to have to put one in there. This thing was overloaded with oil. I was concerned there was water in it, and I dumped it out, and it's just oil. The previous owner had overloaded it with oil. But we're going to try to fix this up. I'm not going to do a paint job because I kind of like the way it looks now. It's a little rough in some areas where it rubbed a little bit, but that's okay. We can maybe touch that up. But it's just too much to do a frame off restoration. If I can get this thing mechanically good, I think we'll do okay. And the object is to pass this on and resell it, of course, make a little bit of a profit. I've got some extra parts. Here's an air box for it. Doubt we'll be using that. I don't really care for them. They're very restrictive. We got the dashboard with an extra switch in it, which is just wonderful. We'll have to see how that's all wired up. And a whole bunch of more wiring harnesses and whatnot. How much of this we'll use, I'm not sure. There's a puller in here for the flywheel, so I have more than one of them, so that's okay. We'll just add it to the collection, or I'll loan that one out, and I don't care if it comes back or not. So anyway, so that's the beginning of the project. All right, first day to really get to work on this thing. Good news, bad news. The starter and the starter clutch work very good. I got the new wiring harness kind of in. I did pull the old wiring harness out. Of course, I didn't tighten up anything yet. The bad news is we have zero compression. Absolutely nothing. So no doubt a bent valve or something like that. So what I generally do, and I kind of anticipated this was one of the possibilities, I will rebuild the top end. I will put a Glixal 155cc. That'll be the head and the piston and cylinder. That whole deal is like $60 through Amazon. Just go over the price real quick. I did pay $250 for this, which is, I think, was a great price. But now with the wiring harness was over $150. So when people buy one of these things that somebody fix up, they got to kind of add up what everything costs. I have not done anything with the brakes yet, because that master cylinder is frozen. I want to do some of this stuff here. I want to fix all that up, but I want to get a running motor first. Before I spend any more money, priority number one is to have a running motor. So, and we will, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. So that's where we're at now. Okay, I went ahead and I pulled the motor. And I want to do a little investigation to see, why does this thing have zero compression? So my first instinct was to think that it was the head, maybe a bent valve or something. But here I have the head, and of course it's upside down, and I poured WD-40 in there, and it's actually holding level with what I poured in there. It's not really leaking out. So that tells me that should have some compression. I'm not saying it's 100%. Obviously, it's, got a lot of carbon buildup, but it is, holding the WD-40. So that tells me it's probably not that for giving it zero compression. So, and this is the jug. And you can see some wear issues there, but it doesn't look that bad. But we did, of course, we got the new Glixal 155cc kit, and I'll show you this, by the way, does not fit in there because that's a 155cc, and that's without rings on it. It would never work on there. That's a 155cc kit, and that's a 149cc is what comes stock in it. Anyway, so we go over here to investigate, and right away, you see this top ring is up. I can kind of push on it, but it doesn't come out the bottom at all. It's stuck. So I think that the rings were stuck on this. I think that's what it was. And I mean, honestly, if you want to be cheap about it, you could just go ahead and free the rings out, pull the rings out, clean it up, put it back together, and you would probably have enough compression to get it running. And would probably work for a while. But my thing is, hey, you already have it apart. Even though this is something I'm going to flip, I'm going to give it to somebody else. I'd feel better giving them a quality product if I know there was a problem. And I went through this much trouble anyway. So we'll just go ahead and put the 155cc kit on it. And hopefully the new owner really does appreciate this. Getting a new motor, new top end anyway. And there is no play up and down. It's the whole trash can moving, so I have it on right now. It's just a temporary setup. But there's no, the rod is good. There's no play in the bearing and all. So we're good. I believe the bottom end is really good shape. And it's a matter of putting on the new parts and making it just like new. Okay, top end is rebuilt. And it went pretty smooth. The part I hate the most is trying to get the old gasket off. But take your time. You got to get that old gasket off in order to get a good seal. But yeah, it's all together. I set my valves at 4 1/1000ths, exhaust and intake. I know people have different settings. Go with what you know best. But from the information I have and what I've found to work for me, that's what I go with. So if you're going to take these apart, and take it out of the machine, or whether it be a quad or the Buggy, well, you probably want to take off the CVT and see what you got, and that's what I did. And I found there is some chunks missing out of the belt, and you probably could use a CVT rebuild. Yeah, that would work. I could sell it like that, but I think I want to go ahead and make it right. So we're going to go ahead and do a clutch rebuild, a CVT rebuild. I don't know, the clutch may be okay, so probably just the CVT rebuild. The belt, we're going to take care of that. We're going to look at the rollers and see how they look. And I do have some not very used rollers in stock. Maybe I'll put them in. I like to put on yellow or red springs and yellow or red contra springs. See what I got. They're very inexpensive if that's something you want to do to give a little more low end. That's what these Buggies really lack, and I like to fix that and make it more enjoyable for the next person. And it's worth it. Okay, another day of work on this thing. I got the motor back in. Went to try to fire it up, and it turned over just fine. No spark. I found out that with the motor, or with this cart, I got not one but 2 bad CDI boxes. This is a AC system, and that are AC CDI boxes, but they just didn't work. So I had an old crusty one on the bottom of my toolbox, and I figured I'd try that, and it works. But notable, also, I got a cable for a transmission up here. Let me give that a shot, so I get to work too. So, forward, right? Let's see. I haven't got reverse. a working, and I've never had any success when I had these working, but we got a working reverse box. So I'm very excited about that. So we gotta note the small victories. Okay, here she is, all put back together. A little windy out here today, but yeah, we got her all done. I got a new master cylinder, got the brakes all bled, and they work perfectly. I normally like to put fresh brake pads into a rebuild, but the brake pads in here are like perfect. So I think that they had an issue with the master cylinder, didn't realize it before they had sold it. But yeah, it's all nice and shiny. Everything looks great, and more importantly, everything works great. Even this reverse gearbox, yeah, that was absolutely frozen when I got it, but I got it unfrozen, and it is working nice and smooth, forward into reverse. And they're not bad. They're not bad to work on. They're pretty simple and straightforward. And if you had to replace it, it's like $200 on Amazon, but that one works absolutely perfect. The gears look really nice. We just greased it up, changed all the fluids in it. Got everything real nice. Now, what is the grand total? What did I pay for the rebuild? Well, the buggy itself was $250. I added up everything, and I did it on a cheap because it is for a flip, but I did it with decent parts, brand new parts. The total with the cost of the buggy was $700. Now, on a build like this, I like to, double my money, because I have 30 hours or so into this machine. So the problem is that, have you ever heard of a Maxxam? It's a Maxxam 152R. They're made, I did my research, they're made by a company called Ace. Now, they use all the parts on it are like a Hammerhead parts or Trailmaster parts, very readily available. And looking at the thing, it really seems to be quality. Even the paint job is really, really nice. Lights work nice. Everything on it works really nice. Brand new wiring harness on it. But can I double my money on this? I sure hope I can get close to that, because, with all my time, I like to think that's worth something. But anyway, I think it's time we take a test ride. Oh yeah. This is why we do it. Just rained a lot last night, so it's going to be a little bit muddy, but that's okay. A little up and downhill. It can handle it. Not a problem. Yeah, one of the fun things about this hobby is you get to play with what you fix up. Suspension works very nice. Now my son-in-law's turn. I'm gonna take her for a little rip. So it was mentioned in one of my last videos that they don't watch my channel to hear an old man talk about his fake God. Well, I considered what you said, and may I say this? You're right about one thing. I am an old man, but I will never, ever stop talking about my very real God, because I realize what he's done for me and how awesome he is. And sorry, that's never going to happen. So that brings us to the verse of the day. which is found in Revelations 21, verse 5. He who was seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. Then he said, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. He who is seated on the throne, well, that's talking about Jesus. And Jesus is making all things new. You know, when we got this old cart, it was a piece of junk. It had no compression, it had no brakes, reverse didn't work, the lights didn't work, the wiring didn't work. It was a real piece of junk. But I saw value in it, and I took it in my shop, and I didn't make it new, but I made it like new. But Jesus says he's making all things new. You know, if you want to come to Jesus, and it's crazy not to, he's the only one that holds the keys to life. He's the only one that has a heaven for you. If you want to have a relationship with Jesus, you don't have to get clean and get perfect to come to him. You need to come to him to get clean and perfect. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. And don't be afraid to go out there and get your hands in a project. It's a lot of fun.